We're back, Kevin, with another episode of Today and Tomorrow in Scottsdale, where we connect people who make our city great. And Kevin, you're one of them too, huh?
Hey, Don, how are you?
It's been a while, man. I've had Kevin withdrawal symptoms lately, so I'm glad to be back in the studio. But we've got two wonderful guests today. Today we're joined by Peter and Patti Bezanson. They're the co-chairs of Basis Education Ventures and two of the driving forces behind one of the most high-achieving public school networks in the country. Together, they've helped the rapid expansion of Basis charter schools while protecting the academic rigor and that places them among the nation's best. Yep. Kevin, we're going to talk about leadership. We're going to talk about growth, what it takes to reimagine K through 12 education at scale, from the classroom to campuses across the country. No small issues here today for our guests, for sure, right? Yeah. Great. Welcome, both of you, Peter and Patti. It's great to have you here today. Let's start with a little background, though. Talk a little bit about where you're from, what your career path was, and evidently how you eventually met each other. Oh. Patti, why don't we start with you?
Sure. I'm from Michigan. Originally, I was born in Detroit. Moved out to Arizona in 1993, I think. I started a career in acting. I did that for about 15 years. I was doing horror films and commercials here in the Valley for a while. It was a lot of fun. And then I started, when my first daughter was born, I wanted to really understand what she was going to be getting into with education and what that looked like. So I started working in education. I first taught preschool, and then I taught kindergarten, and then I went to work for a charter operator called Great Hearts Academies. Sure. And that's where I met this guy.
Yeah. You did? Right there, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And I'll turn it over to you, and then we can merge our stories.
There we go.
So let's see. I moved out to Arizona in 1998. I'd gotten my undergraduate from St. John's College, a small great book school on the East Coast. And then I got my PhD from the University of Iowa in philosophy. Wrote my dissertation on Nietzsche's reaction to Kantian idealism. That's
a little heavy for me, Kevin. I'm sorry, but
it was a pretty bad. It wasn't very well written, but it was done. That was the important thing. Yeah. It passed. So I got my PhD, but I always knew that I wanted to teach high school. So I came out here and I worked as a high school teacher initially at a school that served predominantly low-income students in a kind of a dropout recovery situation. And then I did that for a couple of years. Then I started working at Tempe Prep, which was one of the first charter schools, very high-performing charter school, over the course of a number of years, we together kept intersecting with Basis, and eventually the former owners of Basis and the founders took us out to a nice dinner and slid a piece of paper across the table with a number on it and said, "We want you to come and run the show." Yeah. And so we started working for Basis in 2014, running it in a variety of manifestations, and then they retired, and we've been in charge ever since.
Well, give us a little bit of background on Basis. I know you said you're 5 states and how many schools you have. Just give us sort of the background piece on Basis.
Sure. We have 46 schools across our network, which is in 5 states, plus 1 private preschool here in Arizona. 23 of those schools are here in Arizona, the public schools, public charter schools, serving about 15,000 kids, a little bit over. In total, across the 5 states, we serve over 27,000 kids.
And in Scottsdale, I think we're at 2,000 kids in Scottsdale, or 2,500 kids in Scottsdale. Mm-hmm.
Has that been steady, or you guys been growing a little bit?
We've been growing significantly.
Okay.
Not in Scottsdale's been pretty steady. We opened the first school in Scottsdale, Basis Scottsdale, but then once we built the new building on Shea in 124th Street, that's when we opened both of the K-5 feeder schools as well. And since then, we've been pretty stable at 2,500 kids.
Okay.
But the growth trajectory of the company has been pretty significant. Every year we open anywhere between 2 and 5 schools a year.
Mostly
and a lot of the
in
growth
Texas.
Mostly in Texas.
Yeah.
Are you
Most growth in Texas.
Headquartered Phoenix?
Headquartered in Scottsdale.
That's right.
And then the 5 states. Is this your biggest in Texas then?
We're biggest still here in Arizona, but
Okay.
within a few years, Texas is going to surpass what we have.
We can't let that happen.
No, I know.
Texas always wants to be number one. Let's get our hands around that one, man.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Peter, when did you realize that the love for teaching could actually translate into leading an entire network like this?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know. It's interesting. I haven't thought about that before, so I'm kind of going to go out on a limb and give you my my first thought on
It's
it.
always
I think
the best.
I think it's my coaching. Like I loved teaching, and I love teaching, but I really, really liked coaching. And so I started coaching co-ed soccer, and then high school women's soccer and women's volleyball. And we became an incredibly good soccer team, and one of the best in the state. And during my time, taking us from being very bad to being very good. And that's, I think, where I developed my real kind of leadership capacity was, and if you can figure out how to lead 15 to 18-year-old women, you can lead anything. So
Good point. Yeah.
that's where I think it came from.
Patti, your background, how has your background shaped the way that you lead school and teams today?
Yeah, that's interesting. In college, I studied communication and theater. So weirdly, I mean, my parents didn't like that choice, but I found that I've used those skills in just about every job I've had since. I never really had an ambition to run a network of charter schools. Never thought I would ever do something like that until I met this guy. And then I was sort of a reluctant leader. I was doing enrollment and marketing, and then the original founders of the company kind of pushed me and said, "Hey, you're doing really well with that, but we're going to be opening these schools in China, and we need somebody to run that." And they kind of pushed me into that. And so I did that for a few years and figured it out and became a leader there, and then came back to work with the charter schools again. And the rest is history. We just decided to run the company.
Yeah, so we're kind of accidental leaders.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I just wanted to lead a classroom and lead a team, and it's somehow translated. But I just, both of us still, we just want to change the world.
That's right.
We just want to make education better and make it more accessible for a greater number of kids.
Sounds like a goal for me, Kevin. That's pretty cool, right? Patti, I'm interested in your acting background. Have you started or performed in anything that we might recognize?
Well, you have to be truly a love. You have to have a love of horror films to recognize any of the titles. I was the lead in a movie called Death of a Ghost Hunter, which is kind of become a cult classic, kind of. I mean,
really?
I still get emails from people asking me if it was a true story or not. And then the Frankenstein Syndrome was another one. I played the Dr. Frankenstein, but I was the female version, Victoria, instead of Victor. And so I did those. I was in a short film that was about a killer gnome, that kind of set me on that path of horror, becoming the horror queen of Arizona for a while. Wow. Which, again, I never expected.
I love the horror films. The Night of the Living Dead was filmed in my neighborhood way back when in
that's
Pittsburgh.
awesome.
That was one of the first horror films that I remember.
Really?
And it was filmed in my hood back in the day. That was pretty cool. So how's your acting talent and skills translated into the ways you're a leader now? How do you draw on those skills, or do you when it comes to how you perform now?
My skills in horror films?
Well, in acting generally, but maybe in horror films relating to some of the ways that Arizona treats education around here would be a horror story in all of itself.
Yeah.
But,
I don't know. I don't know how one relates to the other. Leadership has just been something I've had to kind of learn along the way. I didn't go to school to learn to be a leader. I guess it came more naturally to me than I would have imagined. And I've actually learned a lot from Peter. Peter's been sort of my mentor, I guess, all these years. Learned a lot from.
You've never called me your mentor.
I
appreciate that.
Yeah.
this
True.
podcast breaks news. That's what I'm saying. So that's okay, right?
I have not become a better actor because of her.
Well, do you guys watch horror films together?
We do.
Yeah, okay.
I like them
thought
a
that
lot
might
more
be-
than Peter does, though.
They scare me.
Yeah.
That's funny. So, Peter, what makes Basis distinctive and sustainable?
Two different questions. So what makes us distinctive, I think, is our commitment to, on the one hand, academic rigor and a culture of high expectations for students, but on the other hand, and equally as important, is a culture of student support, so that the fruits of academic rigor, which is getting into and doing well in top-tier colleges and universities, is something that is accessible and possible for any kid. And we have a laser-like focus on that, and we do not lower expectations. And what we've had to do over the years, because, I mean, this is just one data point, but the average incoming ability into our kindergarten classes, the average incoming reading ability, has gone down every single year for the last 7 years. So every year it gets lower. And what we've had to do is just increase academic support. But we want those kindergartners to have learned exactly what we originally said they needed to learn by the end of kinder, regardless of where they start. So that just means we have to adapt. So an adaptable curriculum that can meet kids where they're at, a culture of high expectations, and a commitment to rigor.
Also, I would say hiring excellent teachers.
Yeah.
And then once they're with us for a while, they earn the autonomy in the classroom to teach the way that they feel is most effective for the kids.
Kevin, we talk to school officials all the time about the need to find good teachers.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's interesting. And how is that working for you guys?
It's becoming harder and harder to keep good talent here because of the funding we get here in Arizona. Teachers, it's hard for them to make a living on a teacher salary anymore.
Yeah, I mean, since we recruit teachers to work in 4 states in the District of Columbia, our 5 regions, you can make the state. We get somewhere in the neighborhood of roughly $8,000 per pupil here, and we have to operate the school with a small surplus, as a nonprofit should, on $8,000. In Washington, D.C., we get close to $22,000 per student.
Really?
So that difference, and that's the biggest delta. Louisiana, we get more than Arizona. Texas, we get more than Arizona. Arkansas, we get more than Arizona. Everywhere is more than Arizona. But in D.C., if you're a young kid coming out of Princeton, and you want to go teach for a couple of years in high school or middle school or primary school, and we love to hire people like that. We love lifelong teachers, but we also love people that just want to spend a couple of years and teach and give back before they go on and work in the labs or go to law school or something like that. Why, unless you want to live in Arizona, if you have a job opportunity in Texas, Louisiana, D.C., and Arizona, if you're just thinking about, I want to make as much money as I can and still do the same job, you're not going to come to Arizona. So it's been very difficult for us to keep the talent of teaching, to keep high teaching talent here in Arizona, and to import it to Arizona as well. It's very hard.
Depressing to think we're behind Louisiana and
Yeah, I was
Arkansas.
thinking the same thing.
That's
Right.
right. Yeah.
Right.
That's
Same
a
thing.
little depressing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
That
very
pains me a little
depressing.
bit.
Well, we live it
Well, you
every
guys
day,
do,
right?
right,
So it's
exactly.
super depressing.
Patty, Peter talked about rigor, and that's part of your stable. How do you define that in a way that empowers students rather than pressure them?
That's a good question. I'm actually going to kick that to Peter because I think you answer this question better than I do.
I'm going to kick something to you at some
It's
point.
a free kick zone, so you go back and forth.
Yeah.
We believe that schools should be hard, but we don't believe but we also believe schools should be joyful. And so the problem with rigor as a concept is like rigor and rigor mortis or something, assuming they come from the same Latin root. I assume they do, or Greek.
Yeah, it sounds negative. But
So it sounds negative. So, we use rigor when we talk about our schools, but it's important that the school is infused with joy and curiosity. So the key is to have classes that are hard with content that is inspiring and interesting. So as an example for that, like our average student is in pre-calculus in 9th grade, calculus AB, AP calculus in 10th grade, AP calculus BC in 11th grade, and those are hard courses, and that's rigorous, for high school kids. And that's every kid. We have no admissions criteria, every kid. But the reward of that, once you get past the calculus requirements, are these post-AP courses in game theory. Just really fun, interesting courses where things go from hard to super fun. But the rigor has been what's driven it from hard to fun.
That makes a lot of sense. Kevin, that sounds like a pretty good formula, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Hey, this may sound like an unusual. I hope it doesn't sound like an unusual question. So, when you get an environment where I'm sure your students are highly motivated and highly charged up by the time they get to you, what kind of problems do your teachers? What kind of challenges do your teachers have? Are kids no matter where they are? Or do you have unique set of behavioral issues or challenges in the classroom that's different?
I think
Does that make sense?
it does,
Yeah.
and I think we are a school for choosers.
That's right.
So
Okay.
any comparison, we're really proud of what we do, and we have top ranked schools in the country. And if you look at a list of all of the Arizona high schools, you're going to see us at the top.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean that we're better than Chaparral High School, for example. We're not better than that. We're just really good at doing what we do. And what we do is an AP curriculum for everybody who chooses that. So the problems that we have sometimes are related to that choice. So you have parents who make the choice for their children without involving them in that choice, and then students who rebel from it. So we have some of that. And then we have parents who, the reason that they made this choice was they want to get their kids ahead, and the school can get a little bit too competitive.
Yeah.
So we have to push really hard to make sure that our schools are not a place for cutthroat competition.
Okay.
Our schools we want our kids to be competitive. I mean,
Yeah.
The world's a competitive place. A capitalistic society is a place for competition. I mean, competition has helped in education in Arizona generally, but we don't want them to be cutthroat.
Okay.
So we have to really pay a lot of attention to, call it social emotional learning or whatever, but we have to pay a lot of attention. If we want to be focused on academic rigor, we have to make sure kids and their parents are approaching that with humility and not arrogance, and a willingness to help their neighbor versus trying to outdo their neighbor. So I think at basis, because we attract people who choose us for what we are, and many of them want a leg up, and that's why they choose us, we have to make sure that they have a kind of a broad commitment to humanity.
You got it. Yeah.
I do think, though, that our students, by and large, are pretty motivated to learn and tend to be overachievers. We require a certain number of AP classes before you graduate, and our students far surpass that in the number they actually take. They're also involved in a lot of clubs, and we've had some students that have graduated from us, like starting their own business and tutoring other kids and doing all kinds of other crazy, wild, awesome things.
Right, but we want them to be in this club because they love the content.
That's right.
Not because they think being in these clubs is going to help them get into college.
Right.
Right? And that's what you have to
balance.
And any school that focuses like we do on getting kids into top tier colleges and universities has that problem where the students, only a certain number of kids can get into Stanford. Now, there was one year at Basis Scottsdale where 7 of our 80-some graduates got into Stanford.
Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, 7 kids from one graduating class got into Stanford
That's pretty
from
amazing.
one
That's
school.
right.
So
That's right.
we tell that story all the time. You don't have to be better than your neighbor to get into Stanford. You both can.
It's got to be good
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just got to be good, objectively good.
and follow their passions. I love the idea of letting them follow their passions when they get into stuff like
That's
that.
right.
So you say the company is growing across your multi-state network. So how do you scale up and scale excellence basically without losing the heart of the model?
Yeah, we talk about that a lot. Actually, we have a great central office team that manages all of this really well.
I think part of the secret to our success in doing that is trying to give regional autonomy versus trying to control everything from the center. We started as an Arizona company, but we run the schools in Texas with a Texas regional company, and Arkansas with an Arkansas flavor, and DC feels like a DC school, because at the very beginning when we started in Arizona and then we went to these other states, it felt like those schools were being run out of Arizona, and that wasn't good. Mm-hmm. So we've really committed to that regionalization when it comes.
That
to
said,
oversight.
when you walk into our schools, you walk into an Arizona school, it feels like a basis school. You walk into a DC, our DC school, it still feels like a basis school at its core. It just has a little DC flair.
Yeah.
So
How do you describe the flair? Is it just it's not necessarily in curriculum
no,
so
it's
much,
not
or-
curriculum.
Yeah.
It's just community. It's what the community sort of brings, and the students bring, and the local teachers bring to the table. I think.
DC, I mean, there's a lot more kids that go into politics and are
Right.
interested in politics,
Yeah, makes
and a lot of capstones and senior projects that take place on Capitol Hill. So it feels like a more political institution. Arkansas, the spirit of community service in Northwest Arkansas, which is where we have the school.
Yeah, in near Bentonville or
Rogers.
Rogers.
Is very pronounced there, that spirit. And so there's a lot more community engagement than you would find at a traditional basis school. And basis school in Texas is thoroughly and completely Texan, right? I mean, for all the goods and bads of that, right?
Am I not surprised?
Right?
Yeah.
You know you're in Texas when you're at a basis.
The country of
Texas
Texas,
school,
right?
That's right.
Yeah. So if you were designing a K through 12 education sort of system from scratch today, what would you keep and what would you get rid of?
That's really an interesting question because we've actually done that.
Ah.
Yes, I'll let Peter, because this model that we've created is actually came from Peter's heart, I guess, the passion.
The new school model?
Yeah.
Yes.
We have two new school models, one that's in practice and one that we're working on right now.
Yeah, and what we didn't want to do when we started these two new school models, and one has not yet been announced, so I can't talk about
That's
it.
right.
But
We
it's
break
coming.
news here, man.
It's
Come
coming
on, we
soon.
can do this.
The other one is the school in Arkansas, which is called the School for Advanced Studies, and it's an affiliated school run by Basis Ed. But what we don't want to do is mess with the secret sauce of Basis.
Yeah.
And what we want, but we also know that there can be a lot of great schools that have completely different kind of models that undergird them, and so I think if I'm thinking of things that are common, if I was starting from scratch overall together, having any school that you build, I think it's important to have a commitment to preparing kids who are graduating for the workforce or for college, and doing that in a very intentional way. For us, since we're preparing kids for college, the way that we've solved that is an AP for all curriculum. And it's not just about taking courses that are certified by the College Board that get you college credit. And as Patti said, our average student graduates with having taken 12 APs before they even get to 12th grade, because we don't do APs in 12th grade, we do post-APs after 11th grade. But it's not just about that credit, it's about a third-party validation of quality. That's something that I think is really missing right now. We used to have it, or we've taken steps in the state of Arizona to have it in other places, is really having a legitimate measure of a school's quality. And for us, we just do that ourselves. But if you write your own tests, obviously, they're suspect. So we use the AP test to judge whether the students actually learn something and whether the teachers are teaching the students well. So I think under anything that we were to dream up, any new thing that we dreamed up, we'd want to have a foundation of a third-party validation of quality.
Makes sense. Patti, what excites you most about the future of education right now?
Future of education. Oh, I think it goes back to what Peter was saying earlier, is like us preparing these kids for what is ahead of them and what the world is turning into, more tech-driven, more AI-driven. Like, we have to figure out how to make sure that our kids are ready for all of those things.
Changing world quickly.
That's right, yeah.
Peter, same question.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the AI thing. I mean, it really does, and it's not AI, and I don't really like that phrase to describe it, but the fact of the matter that in our hands for a generation now have been devices that give us facts that we didn't have when we were kids. We didn't have a fact-giving device in our hand, and what that means for how that frees up education, or ought to free up education, to focus not exclusively and entirely on kind of rote memorization, but more on how to use the facts, how to acquire facts, and synthesize those things. And so that's allowed us, and I think the best schools are the ones that kind of understand that they can now do more because they don't have to do as much with teaching facts and memorization. Now, what you have to teach is how to make sure you have the right ones. I mean, the number of times that ChatGPT is just wrong is
right. People
scary.
don't realize that,
right?
You know?
And those
that, right?
who understand how to be discerning. I was thinking about that the other day. Like, I mean, if we're raising kids who just trust the fact machine that I'm talking about, then they're slowly going to lose their ability to discern whether that fact is true or false. So we have to make sure we're doing a good job teaching discernment, and that's, I mean, it's, the at-home essay writing has largely disappeared from high schools now, and from college. Our kids go to college, and 2 of our 3 are in college, one's out of college. And they don't write as many long 15-page research papers
Right.
anymore. And in high school, you don't do that as much anymore because you as a teacher want to know that the kid's work is his own, is unaided by AI. And the way you do that is you have them write in class. But you only have an hour-long class, so you can't write a 15-page research paper in class. So a lot of the art of it's an exciting, but it's a terrifying time to be designing curriculum.
Challenges like we never faced before, and who knows what's down the road,
That's
right?
right.
Yeah. So let's have a little fun. Let's do a little lightning round deal. And Kevin, we're going to get you to join in on
All
this
right,
too.
let's do
All right.
it.
So we'll ask some questions too.
Okay,
So
sure.
let's just buzz around with some things you can answer in a sentence or two, or maybe just a word. In fact, we'll start with a word. One word that best describes a great school, Patty.
Inspiration.
Peter.
Now I'm stuck on inspiration. That's a really
pretty good
good
one.
word. That's
That's the danger in
going
going
with
second. Right.
inspirational, yeah.
What did you say, Kevin?
Just community.
Community.
Oh, that's a good
Yeah.
one.
Peter, a subject every student should fall in love with, even if they don't realize it yet.
Philosophy.
Patty?
I would hope that every student develops a love of reading.
I thought you'd say acting.
All right.
What would you say?
Political science.
Political science. You're just a nerd, man.
I want another one. I would also say calculus because I honestly believe that every student should take calculus in high school. And I
Ouch.
think anybody can take calculus. And it's a beautiful language. It's a beautiful math.
That's one I'll probably never understand.
Right, yeah.
You
right.
can, though.
I know. I
You can.
probably got to go back to school. Patty, a leadership habit you rely on more than any other.
That's a great question. Communication.
Good. Peter?
Yeah, it just keeps taking good answers. I'm trying to do it in a single word,
You can do a sentence.
or thinking about it as a habit. I would say that I think what I rely upon is my ability to not take anything personally.
That's a good one. Kevin?
Yeah. I'm sorry, what was the question again?
How's your
I
listening
was thinking
skills?
about my next question, because I want to ask Patty and Peter a question, but
Okay.
I don't want to interrupt the lightning round. So what was the question
A
again?
leadership habit that you rely on
Oh,
more
that's
than
right.
any
Yeah,
other.
I had it right off the bat. Empathy.
Empathy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Kevin's coming up with good answers.
Yep.
He's kind of surprised me here, buddy. You're doing
I'm
good,
not
man.
an educator.
You're not even an educator. I know. Maybe you are. Peter, the biggest misconception about high-achieving schools.
That they're places where fun goes to die is misconception number one. I mean, maybe some of them are certainly. And the other is that they are not for me. Like if I'm a kid or I'm a parent, they're not for my kid. They're not for me. Those are places that my kid can't be successful.
Gotcha. Patty.
I think the biggest problem or challenge with our schools is that a common misconception is that we cherry pick students, which we absolutely do not. It's all, you complete an application, you go into a lottery, and you either win the lottery or you don't.
Family
And
choice, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
They
That's
cherry
right.
pick us. As we
That's
say.
right.
Yeah,
They
that's
pick
a good
us.
point. Kevin.
I don't know, Don. That's why we have our guests on, because I don't have any misconceptions about high achieving schools, because I don't know. That's why we invited them in here today.
That's a perfectly fine answer, Kevin.
Right.
Yeah, that's a totally good, man. Oh, I love it. I love it. Peter, one skill today's students will need that schools don't talk enough about.
One skill that students need that schools don't talk enough about. Patty, what do you think?
I think it's like personal financing.
Personal finance,
I
yeah.
don't think
Yeah.
enough schools address that.
Yeah, I agree.
There
I'll
we
go
go.
with personal finance since it's a requirement to take economics at our schools, and most
Yeah.
of our kids take a personal finance class. It feeds right into come to basis, and then you don't have that problem.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
You concur, Kevin?
I do. Well, yes, I do on that. However, Peter didn't use this term earlier, but he was talking about this, I think, and that's critical thinking skills.
Critical thinking
Right?
skills.
I mean, there's so many students that you absolutely have to have critical thinking skills to be successful in anything, I think.
Totally makes sense.
Yeah, right?
Patty, a book or an idea that continues to shape how you think about education.
Ooh, I'm gonna kick it to Peter to answer first.
You guys make a great team.
Probably. I'm trying to think of a particular book, but the E.D. Hirsch. You know, familiar with him? Core knowledge guy.
Yeah.
So like Dictionary of Cultural Literacy. So that book shaped a lot of my thinking on the fact that there needs to be kind of a core curriculum and a set of core things that every kid should know.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
I
concur?
like Peter's answer. Yes.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
Go with it.
You got
Go
one?
with it. What's the books by Khan? What's Khan's first name? Dr. Khan, the YouTube guy.
The YouTube guy. I forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to. I can't
Oh,
remember
like
his first
Khan
name.
Academy Khan?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Samuel? I don't know.
Anyway,
Him?
some of his books. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good one. Kevin, do you have
He's kind of reshaping a little bit what the classroom looks like, right? And just the way that
Redesigning.
information is presented and the way that information is received,
Yeah.
and things like that. He has some interesting ideas about that.
That makes sense, yeah.
I can't name his book specifically, although I've read a couple of them. It's been a while. So.
Great idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad I don't have to answer any of these questions. I get to ask
Yeah.
them. So.
Well, turn on you,
We've
John.
passed a few to
Exactly.
each other.
Hey,
Kevin,
I want to
yeah.
ask you guys a question though. You guys are co-chairman.
That's right.
It's a little bit unusual, maybe. I don't know. Or do you run across other co-chairmen? How's that work?
Well, the company basis is structured in a way that's not it's not unprecedented, but the fact that we run nonprofit schools, so all of the basis schools are nonprofit. The company that manages those nonprofit schools is a for-profit company.
Okay.
And so that's the company that we're co-chairman of, which is really kind
I
of
see.
a
The
fancy way of
ventures- the
saying
ventures.
co-owners. That's right. So
Okay.
we own the company. We're the co-owners of that company.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And so we're the co-chairman of the board of that
I
company
see.
as
Okay.
well. But in addition to that, we're the kind of the co-CEOs. So
Okay.
so we run the company together, and we have a president who does a lot of the day-to-day. But we run the company together, and then we manage the board.
And we each lean in a little bit more on certain things.
Yeah, I
He
bet.
tends to lean in. Peter tends to lean in more on the academic side. I tend to lean in more on the operations side, the enrollment marketing stuff. So, but we both have strong opinions across the
Who
board.
tackles growth or identifies strategic areas of growth?
We do that together.
Yeah, we do that together.
I mean, they're like Patty said, like she'll make decisions on marketing and enrollment and not consult me. I'll make
Sometimes,
decisions sometimes on curriculum and not consult her, but on things like growth and financial decisions for the company, we do that together, usually on date night.
Oh, really? Okay.
We have no life other than
Yeah.
Date night.
date night, especially
Yeah.
since we're empty nesters now.
Yeah.
So
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get to take all your work at home with you too,
We
right?
do.
Yeah, that
We
makes
do.
total sense. Kevin, this has been a great conversation.
It was really good conversation. We've wanted to have somebody from Bezanson on for quite a while.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this is. I'm glad you guys finally came on. We got to get some
Yeah.
insights into what the success looks like over there.
It's great getting to know you both a little bit more personally, also getting to know a little bit more about Basis. So what a fabulous conversation. Just glad you could be with us today.
thank you.
Thank
Great
you very much for
conversation
having
with
us.
Peter and Patty, and thank you all for listening. We're going to take a couple of weeks off for the holidays, and but we'll be back right after the first of the year. So we wish all of you a happy holiday season. Keep Scottsdale great. Keep doing good things for Scottsdale. We'll keep searching out people like the two we have here today who are doing exactly that. So we'll see you after the start of the year for our next episode of Today and Tomorrow in Scottsdale.